I want to talk today about why you need air roll left or air roll right. I saw a Reddit thread where a player was confused, and I think a lot of players that I talk to are confused. Some know that they need to learn this mechanic. Some think that they need to learn. Some are confused about how does this mechanic work. If they need to learn it, why do they need to learn it? At what rank? I want to answer all of the questions. So for context, as many of you can see, I know how to air roll, but also I run the #1 coaching company in Rocket League with former pros, with some of the best in the world. And we get this question all the time from students. Students are confused as to when they should learn air roll, why they should learn air roll. I have 8 things I want to cover today, 8 topics. And I'm going to make a claim. The claim is, if you're aiming to compete, I would say above diamond, I would say in champ for sure, you need control over roll. And that means air roll left and air roll right. You need control over this Z axis. And my promise to you is by the end of this video, you'll understand what air roll left, air roll right is with controller overlay, when it matters, why it matters, and how to get started if you're feeling overwhelmed. So let's get into it. First thing I want to talk about, my second point of this video that I'm going to use to kind of show you why you need air roll past any sort of like diamond champish level. So let's define some terms, okay? Free air roll, or free roll as the kids would put it, is rotating your car manually. This is with one button and stick input. So that's this bind here. For me, it's R1. Air roll right, which we call directional air roll, which just can mean either or, is a one button press. Okay, so the difference is directional air roll, aka air roll left, you just have to click one button. And for me, my air roll left is square and my air roll right is circle. Those are the 2 inputs. And you'll notice there's already one key advantage of air roll left, air roll right, which is you only have to press one button. This frees up your stick. But the other set of definitions that you need to understand is the axes, okay? And so this is gonna be a little bit of a geometry lesson. In Rocket League, we have 3 axes. We have the x-axis, y-axis, and the z-axis, because this is 3D space, just like in the real world, right? And you can move your car around those axes. So yaw means moving around the y-axis, spinning left or right. That's just stick left or right, turning left or right. If this sounds like airplane terms, that's because it is. Pitch is moving around the x-axis, so that's forward or back. And roll, which you can do using any of those following inputs, the air roll left, air roll right, the directionals, or free roll, rotates you around the z-axis, okay? So the reason that free roll is missing or constrained by default is I have to push my joystick in order to activate it. Meaning I can't press my stick and free roll at the same time. In other words, I can't move around the Z, X, and Y axis, which you actually can do with air roll left, air roll right. So that's the basic theory. Now, a lot of players will go, okay, but that's just theory, Luke. What does that mean in practice? It has a couple practical applications. Point 3 of my video, what directional air roll gives you? So directional air roll, aka air roll left, air roll right, is what's responsible for the more granular control that I have in the air here. Without air roll left, I can't do any of these complicated air dribbles that you see me doing here, where I'm tornado spinning off the wall, where I'm dropping into a reset in that way that you just saw me do there, where I'm moving in more than one axis at the same time, right? So you'll see me tornado spin off the wall. You'll see me flicking my stick around right now to control my car in different ways. If you had me air dribble without access to any of those things, I could free roll to about this position, but then my air dribble looks really choppy. Why is that? Well, not only do you lose access to all these different planes of movement, there's this weird property about flying without air roll. So if you'll notice, if I just pitch my car back and forth here, right? It looks like there's a sort of floaty delay. It looks like there's some sort of floaty delay. This is very easy to see when I yaw my car left and right. Do you guys see how I'm pushing my stick left and right, but it takes a lot of time for my car to actually spin? Well, this is because when you're yawing or just moving in one plane of motion, you build, and I'm not sure if this is precisely the right term, but you build speed and momentum in that way, right? And so when I pull my car back to the left or right, shout out whoever just made a payment on WAP, you lose speed. It takes extra time. It's almost like there's input lag. But weirdly, when I hold air roll left or right, I can zigzag left and right, and I use air roll left primarily, And so I can turn left and right without any floaty delay. This is super important for moving in 3D space. So you'll notice when I go off the wall, every time I go off the wall here, I'm doing something that's called a tornado spin. And what a tornado spin is it's holding air roll and pushing your stick opposite that direction. What this does is it aligns my car with the ball much quicker than if I just tap air roll. So in other words, when I'm holding air roll left and I'm tornado spinning, my car pivots, tornadoes, kind of around this line. You see how my car gains tilt and rolls? This is very useful because when I go off the wall, I will often tornado spin. I'll often tornado spin to find the line with the ball. And so even if I had no other air roll adjustments, you can see why tornado in itself is useful. This is not to mention that when I go for something like a reset, I will often reverse tornado. So here I'm going to tornado, and then when I want to drop into my reset here, I'm doing what's called a reverse tornado. So that's air roll left and pushing stick to the left, or air roll right and pushing stick to the right. In the same way that tornado lifts my nose first, reverse tornado drops my nose. You'll see me tornado to find the line with the ball. Here. And now I'll reverse tornado to sort of drop into the reset. And I'm sort of exaggerating here, but let me just do a rep without, commentating it. Helps me find this reset position from what seems like a very narrow angle, right? And so this is the high level of why it's useful. But if you agree with me, okay, Luke, I get it. In theory, air roll left and air roll right is useful, but I don't want to learn it at my rank. When does it become relevant? Well, I'll tell you about it. So me and my team of pros, we've coached over 4,000, 5,000 players now probably at this point. And at very low ranks, you can certainly survive with just free air roll. And so certainly at very low ranks, when I say very low ranks, I mean anything plat or below, maybe into low diamond, you can survive with just free air roll or with directional, air roll left, air roll right. And so at those ranks, you're not doing these complicated maneuvers in the air, or maybe you think you are, but trust me, you're not. And so you can get away with not having air roll left or air roll right. But somewhere around the mid ranks, which I'm going to define as plat, diamond, maybe low champ, control in the air starts to become more important. You begin hitting more awkward aerials, and there are situations where it's nice to have air roll left, air roll right. I'm talking about extended aerials. So when you're trying to, let's say, like adjust your speed here, let's say I'm flying too fast at this ball and I want to slow down. Tornado spin is very nice to get a soft touch and slow down. Sort of like this. And it's very nice on these extended aerials to have access to air roll left and air roll right for many reasons. There's a good chunk of people that I talk to that are somewhere between maybe champ 1 and champ 3 that are often coming back from like a break, let's say, and are watching high-level players and going, I don't have air roll left, air roll right. I think I need to learn this. And I think it's most glaring where you see the gap at like champ 1, champ 2, champ 3. If you don't have any directional air roll, you start to be very limited. Now, that doesn't mean you can't rank up. There are still skills you can work on aside from air roll left, air roll right. But when you can't, like, if without air roll left, air roll right, doing what I'm doing right now is just frankly nearly impossible. Now, this is where people start to disagree with me. This is where people on Reddit, and I think most of these opinions are outdated, but I hear this comment of like people saying, well, most pros don't use air roll left, air roll right, Luke. I see some pros don't use air roll left, and they'll usually try to give me some example. To be honest with you, I can't name a single example. Like if you're talking about any top 10, top 20 pro, Beast Mode, Daniel, Atomic, Appjack, Drawley, Rawas, TRK, Killiers, and Whoopo, like you name any like top 10 or top 20 pro, like if you know ball, you'll know that you need air roll left, air roll right to compete at any sort of high mechanical level. They'll be like Lethamir, for example, and they'll say Lethamir doesn't use it and he is high ranked. And to that, I would say he is very much the exception and not the rule. For those of you who don't know, air roll left, air roll right was added to the game in like 2018, 2019. It was a revolution. Like every pro realized very quickly that you need this. So it does give gains, no doubt about it. My recommendation is you start learning air roll left or air roll right and you get it bound as soon as possible because it takes time to sort of like internalize this mechanic. And it can take a few weeks to get down the basic. It takes many months, in some cases years, to fully nail down. So in my opinion, the sooner you can get it started, the better. A lot of folks will come to me for coaching and they'll say, I already have, let's say 5,000 hours with free roll, and I'm comfortable with it, Luke. Why should I switch? Well, if you come to any of our group classes, or you're trying to learn any advanced mechanic, like the pop reset, for example, where I get one pop, I let the ball fall, and then I kind of pop the ball back up, you'll realize you need directional air roll. You need at least one. And we'll get to this in a second, but you just can't do that mechanic with normal air roll. And I tried. I was learning this for a week, and I would just fly at the ball like this, and I would just try to pull down on my joystick, and I couldn't get the same reset. When you're just doing it like this, and you're just pulling down, you can't get those same touches. You just can't. And so if you have 4,000, 5,000 hours, my recommendation is start small. So pick one, air roll left, air roll right, and get it off the ground. A lot of people have concerns like, will it mess with my buttons or binds or layout? And you really just need to make space for one. If you already have free roll, really just make space for one. We recommend at the RL Bootcamp and Clubhouse, once you're approaching 5,000 to 10,000 hours, you can consider the second one. Like one of our pros, Shock, he has 10,000 hours in the game, right? North American MVP back in season 9. And so he's like, don't worry. I came to him when I was at 3,000 hours or something. I'm like, Shock, I think I'm capped on my skill. I need to get air roll right, because at the time I was only using air roll left. And he's like, Luke, you need to learn how to rotate better and get more consistent touches. And you're fine with air roll left. There are a lot more problems in your gameplay. And he was right. 1,000 hours later, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't even need to touch air roll right for many more 1,000 hours. Like I still have to learn all this stuff that you see me doing right now. Do you need both air roll left and air roll right? The answer is no. At the highest level, like once you have 10, 15, right, 20,000 hours, which should sound pretty crazy for most of you, then you can start thinking about, okay, get the second, because you do get marginal gains, like getting resets on both sides of the ball, having that understanding. There are certain cases where, yes, having both bound will help you get back to the ball quicker, but practically, you can control your car in the air in 98, 99% of situations. Like it truly is like 1% gains, which matter to the pro level, but probably not at yours, with both air roll left and air roll right. But when you're learning air roll, you're really learning not one mechanic, but 8 different mechanics, because you have air roll left, push joystick up, air roll left, push joystick up right, air roll left, push joystick right, and so on and so forth, all the way around your controller. And so for that reason, learning air roll is like learning many mechanics at the same time. Learning 2 air rolls is like learning 16 mechanics at the same time, which is just practically like not very effective. And so for that reason, most players find it easier to just master focus on one for literally thousands of hours before kind of even attempting the second. So for binding tips, you can put air roll really wherever you want on the joystick. Some people will talk about like the Zen method, like, oh, should I put air roll on my triggers? Some say there's marginal gains to having like, full control over air roll left, air roll right, rather than just on off switch, which you get with the buttons. The triggers kind of give you like 100 degrees of air roll. You can think about it like that, 100 speeds of air roll, because you can kind of depress the trigger as much as you want. I don't think it's game breaking. Most pros just have it on some face button like square or circle. If you want to copy Zen, you can copy Zen. For how to learn air roll left, air roll right, you start with the foundational adjustments, which is tornado spin, turning right, turning left, and reverse tornado spin. You can see all my joystick inputs there. I'm not going to go into a how-to demo today, because this is more of a why and what you should expect before you get started. If you want to get started, I have more in-depth tutorials on the main channel, and they're more highly edited and higher like value per minute. This video is mostly to understand, do you need air roll left, air roll right? If so, why? If so, how? At what rank? Etc., etc. Let's talk about common mistakes or misconceptions about air roll. Do you have to be a cracked kid to learn air roll? No, you don't. You can learn air roll to whatever level you want. It's one of the most intimidating mechanics in Rocket League, because it has no easy, like replicatable moves that you're taught in most tutorials. Now, in our tutorials, we teach you the tornado spin. We teach you how it works on the RL Bootcamp channel and a lot of different things. But like with a mechanic like a wave dash, you can know if you're doing it right. And it's the same every time. A wave dash is the same every time off every wall. Half flip is the same every time. It always looks like this. A speed flip is the same every time. It looks like this. A twist flip is the same. It looks like that. But with air roll, based on which way your nose faces, the same button inputs will send your car a different way. And so that's why I think a lot of folks get confused or overwhelmed by it. But all that means is that when you're starting to learn, you need to simplify your process and do a few key adjustments. And that's why we teach like learning specific moves. Like learn how to air roll left while only pushing your joystick on the right side of the controller. That's what we teach in our air roll system first. And then you add more movements, right? How long will it take if you want to learn it? A lot of people think like it will take thousands of hours. That's not actually true. You can get the majority of the gains, just like with anything, it's diminishing returns. So you can learn the basics of air roll left, air roll right in a few weeks. Mastery can take years or months, if not years, but you can learn the basics in a few weeks. Now, you're not going to be like this in a few weeks, but you can learn tornado spins, the basic turn left, turn right in like 30 days. We've seen folks do it in our boot camp, and I would say students who come in at like the champ 2, champ 3 level are really primed to learn air roll left, air roll right in a couple weeks. So there is a very real argument to be made for like don't learn these too soon. I would say if you are starting to approach platinum, diamond, or champ, you're in the kind of world where you should be thinking about picking up one directional air roll, either air roll left or air roll right. Bronze to plat, you're really focusing on the fundamentals. Hitting the ball consistently, fast aerials. Focus on the repeatable mechanics that don't change situation to situation. So speed flips, kickoffs, half flips, wave dashes, etc., before we venture into a mechanic like air roll, which is so dynamic and constantly changing. My claim is that you do need air roll left, air roll right to compete at any sort of high level. Certainly, I don't think folks will agree or disagree with me anymore, or people who are not GC or SSL might make arguments, but people who know ball and who are high rank will understand like the practical and theoretical limitations to not having directional air roll. This starts to become really, you could feel it in GC and even down into some champ lobbies these days. If you're watching, I would recommend, you haven't thought about air roll left, air roll right, I would really start to think about it in diamond or champ. You can get started with the basics. And if you're GC, I would certainly be learning this mechanic. I think at that point, you're kind of playing catch up if you don't have either bound. And so I wouldn't wait. This takes a lot of time to build. I would start small, right? Take it week by week. See how you're getting on after 2 weeks. And if your control improves, because the start is the worst. I think fear is often a mile wide and an inch deep. I didn't come up with that quote, but I think it's very true. The reason air roll is so difficult is because you feel so stupid when you start learning it, right? You feel so dumb. You feel like you can't do anything. And then as you improve over time, you start to have an understanding of how to use it in different situations. And you can you have a foundation to build on, and then it becomes fun. But nothing is fun when you suck at it. So I think that's why most players, it only takes weeks or months to learn, but people wait months or years to start learning it, if that makes sense. And so I'm interested, comment below, like, what is your guys' rank? Do you use air roll left, air roll right? Do you agree, disagree? If yes or no, why or why not? I think age is also a big one. Comment your age. As it relates to learning air roll, how long it takes, because I've noticed there's definitely a change with how long, like, I've noticed some kids can pick this mechanic up no problem without any instruction, but most folks that I talk to are a little older, need like kind of a system to learn it and to wrap your head around it, which is exactly why I make these videos, because I fall into that camp of like, I'm not really just like a cracked kid anymore. And so I just want to talk about and spell out all the myths. If you want more, I have a full 60-minute air roll guide that explains kind of the details of why you need to learn this and how to learn it. If you are kind of on board with the basics of what we've covered in this video, drop comments below. I'll read every comment. Appreciate you guys supporting these different style of kind of like unedited raw videos. I think there's a place for them on the main channel. We'll be uploading more as per your vote. Like, comment, subscribe, sub to my OF, and I'll see you in the next one.